it's not pure Formula One, probably like Formula E on steroids.
Hold on, because right now everything around Max Verstappen is on fire.
Then also I stopped racing and then we all together.
His engineer just walked out the door to join the enemy. Oscar Piastri is sleeping with one eye open. The FIA held an emergency meeting, and guess whose voice made that happen?
I think the word that you can use for the whole year will be management.
And while F1 was busy fumbling its own rules, Max quietly drove into the green hell with a massive smile on his face. Listen, guys, this is not a retirement story, this is a takeover story. Let's break it down all together, but if you want more updates and news on Max, then hit that like button and subscribe for more F1 breakdowns. The FIA bowed down. Max forced the change. Let's start with the biggest thing that happened this week, and honestly, nobody is talking about it the way they should. On April 13th, Max Verstappen sat down in a virtual meeting with the FIA and Formula One management. Just him, George Russell, and the people who run this sport. And the talks? Described as positive and productive. Now here's the thing, this meeting didn't just come out of nowhere. Max has been vocal since day one of 2026. He called these cars anti-racing. He called it Formula E on steroids. And people laughed it off at first, but then Behrman's 50G crash happened at Suzuka, and suddenly everyone stopped laughing. The FIA called a technical meeting on April 9th, then another one, then the driver meeting on the 13th, and now April 20th is the big one. Team principals sitting down to finalize rule changes that could debut at Miami. Listen, guys, when the entire sport reshuffles its rules during a 5-week break, that is not a coincidence. That is Max Verstappen's voice doing exactly what Domenicali said it does. It carries weight. Domenicali said it out loud. And speaking of Domenicali, the F1 CEO actually came out and addressed Max directly this week. And honestly, the way he said it was interesting. He didn't dismiss Max. He didn't tell him to be quiet. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, he's the best driver, he's a world champion, and his voice has to be listened to. But then he added something really important. He said Max needs to understand that his words carry weight, and sometimes people can take them the wrong way. So basically, Domenicali is doing two things at once here. He's validating Max completely, but he's also giving him a gentle warning. Don't burn the house down publicly when we're already fixing it behind the scenes. And here's what makes this even more interesting. Domenicali mentioned that even on the same day as their conversation, Max was in a meeting actively giving suggestions. So this wasn't just criticism from the sidelines anymore. Max is now sitting at the table, and the rules are changing because of it. That's the shift nobody expected. GP leaves and Oscar should be worried. Now let's talk about the bombshell that genuinely shocked the paddock this week. Jean-Pierre Lambiase, GP, Max's race engineer since 2016, the man behind every single World Championship radio call, is leaving Red Bull. He's joining McLaren as Chief Racing Officer. Now, Red Bull confirmed he stays until his contract ends in 2028, but realistically, most people in the paddock don't expect him to actually be there in 2027. And here's where it gets really spicy for the Orange Army. Max once said in an interview that he cannot imagine racing in F1 without GP in his ear. He actually said that. And now GP is going to McLaren, the reigning Constructors' Champion, in a senior leadership role. Max's contract at Red Bull also runs until 2028. His exit clause kicks in mid-season if Red Bull aren't competitive, and McLaren just planted GP right there, waiting. So think about what that picture looks like in 2028. GP at McLaren, Max's contract done, and one seat potentially available. Oscar Piastri might be producing brilliant results right now, but in this sport, when Max Verstappen comes knocking, nobody's seat is truly safe. Remember that. The green hell called, and Max answered. While all of this drama was happening in the boardrooms and meeting rooms of Formula One, Max was already back at the Nurburgring, doing what he actually loves. This weekend, April 18th and 19th, he's racing in the 24-hour Nurburgring qualifiers with Mercedes-AMG Team Verstappen Racing alongside Lucas Auer. 2 4-hour races on 25 kilometers of the most unforgiving, unpredictable, and brutally honest track on the planet. And the weather forecast? Saturday is showing an 80% chance of rain, heavy showers expected in the afternoon, and Sunday looks even wetter. And here's the beautiful part. Max actually asked for rain. He said it himself, that wet conditions at the Nordschleife is exactly the kind of preparation he needs before the main 24-hour race in May. So while F1 gave him artificial energy management, super clipping, and lift and coast corners, Max chose the green hell in the wet in a GT3 with 0 games and 100% pure racecraft. That smile he talked about? You are absolutely going to see it this weekend. Rain Master Mode activated.
The sabbatical question. Now let's address the big elephant in the room, the retirement and sabbatical rumors. Because this is where it gets really complicated, and I want you to understand the full picture here. Sources close to Max's camp have told ESPN that he is leaning more toward a sabbatical than a full retirement, stepping away in 2027, watching how the engines develop across other teams, seeing which car is genuinely the fastest, and then deciding whether to come back on his own terms. Red Bull have even reportedly discussed the idea of keeping him as a brand ambassador during any time away, just to keep that door open and the relationship alive. And Max Verstappen himself, while confirming they all knew about GP's exit for a while, said something that genuinely gave the Orange Army a reason to breathe. He said, "The final decision is Max's, but, and this is the bit that matters most, I think he'll just carry on." Now, here's your honest take, though. If Miami brings real rule changes, if Red Bull show genuine signs of life, and if Max keeps finding that smile at the Nurburgring, the sabbatical stays exactly what it is right now, just a rumor. But if GT3 keeps giving him what F1 currently cannot, that temporary exit clause quietly becomes something much more permanent.
The big picture. So let's quickly bring it all together. Max forced the FIA into emergency meetings, and Miami rule changes are coming. Domenicali publicly confirmed his voice matters. GP is heading to McLaren, and Oscar Piastri's future beyond 2027 just got a lot more uncertain. Max is at the Nurburgring this weekend chasing rain and racecraft, and a sabbatical is on the table, but Joss says he'll carry on. Honestly, my opinion is this. Max is not done. He's frustrated, yes, but frustrated champions don't disappear. They reshape the sport around them. And right now, that's exactly what's happening. But here's the question I want to leave you with. If Miami brings real changes, and Max finally enjoys F1 again, does he stay at Red Bull and fight? Or does that McLaren move become the most inevitable story in Formula One history? Drop your answer below. Orange Army, let's go.